Yeah. Now, sort of tragically, leading up almost right up until the shooting in Lafayette, President Obama was being interviewed about some of his greatest frustrations and regrets during his time as the president. And it's fairly tragic that right before the shooting, this is what he said.
One area where I feel that I've been most frustrated and most stymied, it is the fact that the United States of America is the one advanced nation on earth in which we do not have sufficient common sense gun safety laws.
And he was right. He was 100% accurate. And so this is the shooting of this week. We don't know what the name of the shooting for next week is, what theater it'll take place in, what mall it'll take place in, outside of what recruiting center. But we do know that we have set up a situation in which, even if you're crazy, even if you, as with John Russell Houser, even if you have a history of intimidating behavior, you have restraining orders out against you, if you want to get a gun in America, you will probably be able to get a gun. And so, to his credit, Obama recognizes, even if he doesn't seem to be doing much to try to fix the situation, recognizes that this is one of his great frustrations.
So, can I make 2 points? The first point is that you said that this guy's obviously crazy.
Mm-hmm. He lived in a Motel 6 for 3 weeks. Of course he's crazy.
That'll drive anybody nuts, right? Because they never turn that goddamn light off.
Right? It's always on.
Always on.
They should talk about that.
Oh, that's like a torture. That's what they did to Bradley Manning.
Right.
So I forget what my first point was, and
you were saying that 40% he's crazy.
He's crazy, but
he'd been treated for mental health issues.
Yes, and he's talking about he's referencing the Bible. He brings up Timothy McVeigh. He talks about liberals should die. So this, like you said, it really seems like it could be a political ideology that's mixed with religion, right, or some kind of perversion of religion, right? Is what the killers normally do. You know that. So he's crazy, but do you know that, for instance, 40% of Americans think God is going to intervene in climate change. Mm-hmm. So it's not that big of a leap, right? So religion in general is a mental disorder, right? And it's just so this guy just happened to be a little bit farther than the rest of them. So if you believe that, that's all, God told me to do it. So this is a very half turn of the screw away from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and he specifically said, it's not my job to question what's in the Bible. It's just my job to obey what's in the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
so he did say that.
There are a ton of people, though, John, who are crazy. Like, there are a ton of people who espouse these ideas. I was in what for me was a Twitter war today about guns that I was just making an observation after having been in Cuba. I said that, and I even said it in the tweet. You know how hard it is to say anecdotal in a tweet when you only have 140? Everyone I'd spoken to in Cuba, which was just a handful of people, all said their biggest fear about the normalization of relations is that Cuba, which has no gun problem, is that American guns are going to be everywhere there. Mm-hmm. And it's naive to think that, but it's an observation. People jumped all over me as if it was me, Cuban Michael. Miguel was saying, we don't want your guns. And that wasn't it at all. So you see all the vitriol. But there is something that takes this person into a theater to grab a gun and do it when he's not allowed to have a gun, and yet he has access to a gun because there's so many of them, and it's so easy to get it without any kind of a check.
Yeah. And really fast, I do want to say, as to the thing about the obeying, God or whatever, I don't personally believe that by itself is why he did it, that he thought he had to or that God wanted him to. I think that it influenced it, certainly. The combination of insanity, religion, and politics, sometimes it outputs a mass shooter. So I don't believe that by itself is enough, but I do know that in a hypothetical situation in which the guy had been Muslim and said, it's not my job to question what the Quran says, it's just my job to obey it, there would be no other discussion.
It doesn't have to be hypothetical. It's called last week. It's called Chattanooga.
Exactly.
It's not even hypothetical.
Yeah, and they didn't even have that clear of a link. Like that would be the only thing that you heard.
That's the conversation that ensued.
It sheds all responsibility. It's your shield to be like, I didn't say it. God said it. I'm not. It's not me. That's not me that's pulling this trigger. God told me to pull that trigger because I do what He tells me to do.